What's going on, guys? Welcome to Victims and Villains. If you are new to this channel, we talk about mental health through pop culture. My name's Captain Nostalgia, and today we're getting behind the wheel to talk about Joyride. Joyride tells the story of what starts off as a business trip between the merging of two law firms and ultimately becomes a journey of self-discovery for four friends. Before I even start jumping into my full thoughts on Joyride, let me just say that Lionsgate is absolutely knocking out of the park this year when it comes to comedies. They are the studio behind The Blackening, one of the best horror comedies of this year, one of the best comedies of this year without question, and then comes along this little film called Joyride, and let's talk about it. This movie is absolutely remarkable from start to finish. I laughed so hard at this movie. I fell in love with these characters, and I just love the exploration of other cultures, and I love the fact that cinema allows viewers to travel to other worlds without even leaving the comfort of their couch or a theater, and Joyride is a beautiful exploration of the latter. Let me start off by saying two things. First off, I regret ever calling No Hard Feelings a raunchy comedy. That feels like a throwback. I still love that film, but now that I've had a couple weeks to kind of reflect on it, the more I kind of feel like that statement was kind of made in vain. If anything, I feel like No Hard Feelings is kind of aspires to be a raunchy comedy, but Joyride actually is a raunchy comedy. And the second statement I want to say is that I am probably in the minority of people that do not like The Hangover. And I feel like Joyride is exactly the experience I went in wanting The Hangover to be, and came out with Joyride actually being that very experience. This movie is absolutely delightful from start to finish. I absolutely freaking loved this movie. Everything about it. Ashley Park, who leads the cast in this, is absolutely tremendous. Easily one of the not only the funniest but also most vulnerable performances I've seen this year. This is the first time I've ever actually seen Park act in anything. The only real connection that I had to any of the cast members was Stephanie Hsu from last year's Everything Everywhere All at Once. And of course David Denman, who has most famously acted, probably most iconically known from The Office, and for us horror fans, Brightburn. But Park is just like the tip of the iceberg because there are so many of the cast, not only its primary cast members, but also its secondary and tertiary characters. Every performance in this movie is just like hand-picked to make this movie that much better. Stephanie Hsu in this performance, following up from Everything Everywhere All at Once, again, just kind of showing her range as an actress. She had a lot of really tremendous, just chilling performance, and also yet like really dramatic and vulnerable last year with Everything Everywhere. But I really feel like she really kind of gets to embrace a lot of those comedic roots here. It's always like kind of get to see a little bit of that last year with Everything Everywhere, but here you kind of really get to expand upon it, and she just has a great chemistry with this core cast. She's just remarkable in this movie. Nicola is another performance worth talking about. I love the dynamic between her and Park. I feel like the two of them had real genuine chemistry that sometimes you kind of don't get to see explored in films. But we have two best friends that's just kind of everything's honky-dory, and this one I really kind of feel like you get to see a natural actual friendship kind of unfold. I really liked Cola and Who's dynamic as well. I thought that they kind of start off as kind of frenemies and really develop into actual friends, and kind of the development of those characters and that parallel journey was a really beautiful thing to see. Sabrina Wu, who plays Deadeye in this movie, absolutely a great comic relief, but also there's an innocence to her character that I really loved, and I thought that she just performed that character with such grace and eloquence that by the end of the film, it didn't really feel like her character had been developed, but then you see kind of the character journey and you're like, oh wow, like there's a really subtle eloquence to this that I really enjoyed. I feel like the pacing of this movie is absolutely 100% pure perfection. There's never a part of this movie that feels like it's dragging. There's never a part of this movie that feels like it's speeding up too fast. Everything really gets a chance to breathe. And the sheer fact that you kind of get an exploration of a good chunk of the world in the under 100 minutes really makes this movie just absolutely spectacularly wonderful. The comedy hits on all fronts. I know I talked about this in the beginning of the video. The way that this and The Blackening just use comedy is absolutely pure genius. Like, I always feel like comedy is such an intimidating genre to talk about because it is so diversive and subjective, but I really feel like here with these two, especially with Joyride, the comedy really works. I'll even put this out there. I know we're only halfway through the year, but I will almost guarantee that this will be my favorite comedy of the year because so far no comedy has made me laugh as hard as this movie did. It made me feel emotions as deeply as this movie did, and in the same breath, like 30 seconds later, it made me just almost wet my pants from laughing so hard. I really liked how there is a surprising amount of emotion in this. I feel like the comedies that I am more bound to repeat in repeat viewings have to have that emotional aspect with the characters and the character journey. And again, I talked about this with No Hard Feelings. I feel like No Hard Feelings definitely has that, but again, Joyride really kind of takes that drama and really elevates it. The sheer fact that there is a dramatic undertone throughout the entire course of this movie really speaks volumes about how and why this movie is using its drama for the sake of its storytelling and also comedy. Alright, well, let's run this through the Rorschach rating scale. I'm going to go ahead and give Joyride absolutely a 5 out of 5. I think this movie is a smart, dramatic, well-written, well-acted, hilarious, and just everything about this movie is what I want from a comedy and really what I want and need from a film. And the fact that this movie is under 100 minutes and embraces all of that in spades just makes this a beautiful, beautiful film, and I highly recommend it. Well, let's talk about mental health, shall we? If you guys are new to our content, Mental Health Moment is where we'll take a theme of mental health out of the film which we're talking about, talk about it for a few minutes in the hopes to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. This movie uses identity so much as a plot device that I feel like the concept of identity in itself is kind of lost on us now. Like, if you ask someone who they are or, tell us a little bit about ourselves, we have this tendency to want to talk about our jobs, and we have a tendency to want to talk and divulge about what we do for a living, the accomplishments that we've gotten. But here's the thing, is that does not make you who you are. You are not solely an executive. You are not solely a grocery store attendant. You are not solely an assistant or a drive-through bellhop. Those things are a piece of you, but they are not who you are. And I think sometimes it's really easy to kind of stand back and just kind of look at the things that we do and not really ask ourselves who we are. So the question that I want to just leave you with is who are you? Who are you really watching this video right now? That's one of the most beautiful things that this movie has to do when it comes to Ashley Park's character, is that she has spent her entire life and the entirety of this movie asking that very question, thinking that she knows the answer. And that's oftentimes how we approach the subject of identity, is that we think we have this inkling of who we are, but there is so much more than we are. Also, identity has such a profound effect on mental health. I always love the old saying, if you believe in nothing, you'll fall for anything. When it comes to your identity, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in who you are. Be comfortable with yourself, because at the end of the day, you are with yourself 24/7, and that identity of who you are is going to play such a big part and a big role into the answer of who you are in terms of your mental health. So I really hope this was an encouragement to you if you or someone you know is going through depression, addiction, self-harm, or depression. Self-harm. Click the links in the show notes below to check out our mental health resource library. Joyride opens this Friday, July 7th from Lionsgate Films. If you guys have seen it, what did you guys think about it? Comment below, let me know. In the show notes below, you guys will find links to our social media, Patreon, more movie reviews, all of our podcasts, and that subscribe button below. And one more time, our mental health resource library. So until next time, remember to stay classy.